As-salatu was-salamu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today we're going to finish the last two sections of Sura Al An'aam, which is section 8 and section 9. But before that, just again a little overview so we understand what it's about. So the moment you think An'am, you're thinking about these cattle. And the name comes from how the Makkans used to dedicate cattle with their innovations to deities. But more than that, they used to say, well, this is allowed and this is not allowed. And they made up their own rules, and we've talked about that quite extensively. The surah in essence is the practical implications of Tawheed, and we find when we start with the first section, although you have the awesomeness of Allah, we have the objections that the Makkans had against Allah or the Prophet more than anything else. They said, well, we want a book from the sky. And they're told, even if a book came down from the sky and it was paper that you could touch, you wouldn't believe in it. Why are there no angels with the Prophet? Why has he not got wings? And regardless of that, Allah says whatever we would give them, they would still mock us. We then went on to the second section where there is a reply from divinity to them. So he will say, to him belongs the treasures, and we all know this ayah, وَإِنْدَهُ مَفَاتِحُ الْغَيْبِ لَا يَعْلَمُهَا. He takes you in your sleep at night. He knows what you do in the day. You'll be returned to him. He's the one who delivers you from distress. But the main subject or the main message here was that you want to get connected to Allah. You've got to establish salah in your homes or in your lives, and you have to be God conscious. The third section, we looked at the very extremely intelligent Prophet Ibrahim. So when he's looking at the sun, he's not telling himself, shall I believe in the sun as God or the moon or the stars? But they're rhetoric questions. So we find him trying to tell his people the stupidity of worshipping creation as such. And then we see a reflection on creation. And that goes through the Quran. There's a massive section on this everywhere. So it tells you to look at the seed. How does it grow? Have you seen how the living come from the dead and dead from the living? The breaking of dawn, the night for rest, the sun, the moon, the stars, the rain. It's just simple things. It tells you to just observe them, look at them for a minute and think, who is their creator? And then we looked at the concept of halal meat. And there's a massive connection between what we eat and what we do. And this section actually, the way Allah presents it, it makes a massive difference. It really does. Sometimes we do eat out, and it's okay, it's all right. But there's always something in the feeling of the person who's cooked the food that goes into us. You know, it doesn't matter who it is. You ate your mom's food or somebody who loves you, it makes a major difference. We'll probably reflect on this at some other time. Then there was the comparison of those who believe versus those who don't. And I can just put in the fact that once you attach yourself to him, then there's security and peace. While if you don't, there's humiliation and agitation. And we stopped at this section, which I talked about, which was the innovative laws that was made up by the Quraysh regarding how they would eat cattle. And we saw how they said, well, this is allowed to the men only, and the women are not allowed this, and so on and so forth. So what we're going to start now is section 8, which is ayah 147 to 152. So I'm going to try and... Sorry, I'm there. It's gone back. Okay. So it starts off with this ayah, which is ayah 147, where he says, فَإِن كَذَّبُوكَ. If they lied against you, فَقُلْ, say, رَبُّكُمْ ذُو رَحْمَةٍ وَاسِيَةٍ. Your Rabb possesses or has this incredible mercy. It's absolute, it encompasses everything. Wasiya, it's over everything. وَلَا يُرَدُّ بَعْسُهُ عَنِ الْقَوْمِ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. And at this particular time, the punishment is averted from those who are guilty. But what it's trying to say is that it's not being cancelled. The consequences of your actions are still there. It's averted at the moment. So beware. Sometimes when we do something that's wrong and we think, well, we've got away from it, he's trying to say you haven't. Although I'm merciful, you haven't got away with it. You've got to sort it out. Now, look what they say. سَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا. Those who do shirk, they say, لَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ. If Allah wanted, مَا أَشْرَكْنَا. We would not have done shirk. So they're going into this idea of it's not our fault. He wanted us to do shirk, to believe in these things. It's part of us. It's part of our inner being. I know there was a child at workshop who came up to me and said, could I give him a dua for getting angry? He didn't want to get angry. And I said, well, I can give you a dua. I can tell you what to read, Sura Al Qadr, but you have to work on yourself. And he said, I can't help it. My aunts, my uncles, my chacha, chachi, all the rest of it, they're all got the anger gene, and I've got that gene. So this is similar to that. So, ma ashrakna, we would not have done shirk. Wala abauna, and our parents would not have done shirk. And then, wala haramna min shay, we would not have done anything haram. So in other words, they're saying, if Allah had wanted, He'd have stopped us from doing it. كَذَلِكَ كَذَّبَ الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِهِمْ. And Allah is saying, but that is those who came before you. They lied against the truth as well. حَتَّى ذَاكُوا بَعْسَنَا, until they taste our punishment. قُلْ, say to them, هَلْ إِنْدَكُمْ مِنْ إِلْمٍ. Do you have any tangible proof? Do you have any tangible knowledge? فَتُخْرِجُوهُ لَنَا إِن تَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ. That you can, تُخْرِجُوهُنَّ is that you can bring forth, but you only follow. Remember, ittiba, to follow in footsteps. You're only following your thinking, dhan, your conjecture. وَإِنْ أَنْتُمْ إِلَّا تَخْرُصُونَ. And you're doing nothing but you are just guessing things. All too often we're part of this section because we say, well, I couldn't help it. And then we say, I feel it should be like this. قُلْ, tell them, فَلِلَّهِ الْحُجَّةُ الْبَالِغَةُ. Tell them that Allah only possesses. Now, hujjah, is an argument. It's something that cannot be refuted, a proof. Baligha is something that reaches. Allah is the only one. He says divinity is the only one who has this final proof. فَلَوْ شَاءَ لَهَدَاكُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. And it gets to you and it convinces everybody else. قُلْ. Now I need you to keep these words in mind. قُلْ, tell them, halumma. Halumma is saying, come here. Maybe it's very similar to the next where we're coming to the next ayah, and you'll see another word. But right now, remember halumma. Halumma is when you tell somebody, come here, come here. Tell them, come here. Shuhada'akum alladhina. So come here, bring your witnesses, or bring your experts and witnesses. Alladhina yashhaduna anna Allah harrama hadha. That actually bear witness that Allah has forbidden this. Now we're talking about in the first instance where they said this meat is not allowed to the women and this is only allowed to men. So he's saying, bring your witnesses. Bring those people who can, your faqih, your witnesses, your experts, all those people who tell you that divinity has refused this. And then he says, فَإِن شَهِدُوا. And if they do bring fake news or false witnesses, فَلَا تَشْهَدْ مَعْهُمْ. If they bring them, then just don't follow them. وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ أَحْوَاءَ الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا. Don't follow those who lie, who are following their own desires as such. And who الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا, who deny our signs. وَالَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ. And the main thing is they do not believe in the akhirah. In other words, they do not believe in accountability. وَهُمْ بِرَبِّهِمْ يَعْدِلُونَ. And they are the ones who set up other people with your Rabb. Now if you go back to ayah 1 of Sura Al An'aam, and please look at it, you will find this is where it started, because it started by saying Alhamdulillahi alladhi خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون. Those who covered up the truth, they set up equals with their Rabb. So we find this comes back. In other words, there's a whole explanation, and then it comes back where we started, right there, where they set up others with Allah. So halumma. So it begins with this, and it sort of near the end comes to this. Now another word. قُلْ تَعَالَوْا. Now the Prophet is told to tell them ta'alaw. And I said, remember there were two words, halumma and ta'alaw. Halumma is just come here. Ta'alaw is a word that is used very, very much today. Ta'alaw comes from ulu. Ulu is a height, when somebody is speaking from a height. So in other words, saying, come on, I'll take you up. I'll give you some good advice. Come to me. I'll give you better. So قُلْ ta'alaw, come. أَتْلُوا مَا حَرَّمَ رَبُّكُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ. I will narrate to you. I will tell you, or I'm in a position to tell you what your Rabb has made haram onto you. And we will find 7 things. So remember 7 things, right? The first thing, Allah tushriku bihi shay'an. Do not associate any partners to him. That's number 1. Number 2, straight after that, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Ihsan is, my goodness, the best you can do to your parents. Here it might say show kindness to your parents. In no way puts together what ihsan means. I'm going to repeat this, which I did when we did Surah Al Isra, and I'll put it in our words. I take it from Shaheed Mutahari. He said, if you had £2 and your neighbor had none, and you gave your neighbor one, that is farida, that is your responsibility. If you gave your neighbor both, that is ihsan. And that is why he says, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Number 2, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ مِنْ إِمْلَاقٍ. Do not kill your children as a result of poverty. نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكُمْ. We give you rizq, وَإِيَّاهُمْ, and them as well. And normally abortions are done because people can't afford their time, or people find it difficult. This is talking about all that as well. That's number 3. Next one. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الْفَوَاحِشَ. Do not go near that which is shameless, which is indecent. مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا. That which is apparently indecent. وَمَا بَطَنَ. Even that which is hidden, that you hide, that you don't say, that is within you. Number 5. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا النَّفْسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ. Do not kill a nafs, do not kill a human being, except if it's justified. They've gone through a court of law, they've killed other people, all the rest of it. That's something different. But do not. Now here killing is not only physical killing, but don't kill somebody's heart as well. ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. And this is something that we have enjoined upon you, so that you may have aql, so that you may understand. More stuff now. وَلَا تَقْرَبُ. The 6th one. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ. Do not go near that which is owned by an orphan, إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, unless it is to the best for him. حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ أَشَدُّهُ. Until he reaches bulugh, a mature age. Bulugh is not only 9 and 13, but a mature age. And then he says, وَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانَ بِالْقِسْطِ. And give full measure. Mizan is something, a measurement. So don't be unjust. Give your full due. It covers every sort of scale, whether it's contracts, whether it is any agreement you've made, or even unspoken agreements. Do not be unjust or unfair in fulfilling them. لا نكلف نفسا إلا وسعها. We do not put on any human being any more than what they are able to do. وإذا قلتم فعدلوا. When you speak, speak well. ولو كان ذا قربى وبعهد الله أوفوا. Be just, even if it is against a relation. Just because they're related to you or you're attached to them doesn't mean you lie. وَبِأَحْدِ اللَّهِ, and the covenant of Allah. أَوْفُوا, fulfill your covenant of Allah. ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. Now here he says, this has been enjoined on you so that you may make an effort to remember. In the first place, it was ta'akilun. Here is that you may remember. And if you look at Mulk, Surah Al-Mulk talks about justice. And when he talks about justice, talks about the sky, he says, look at it again. There is no fault in the sky. It's like indirectly telling you and me, whenever you look at the sky, think of it. There's no fault at all. It's faultless. Think of justice. It's like justice is pushed in every single time. Be fair. Now we come to section 9. And it's a phenomenal section. So let's look at this. Divine guidance. and it pivots around the ayah of Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alamin. So the first thing he says is, Inna hadha sirati mustaqima. This is my path. This is the path that will take you to your full potential. And the previous ayah tells us what not to do. Fattabi'uhu. Ittiba, I told you two words, ita'a and ittiba. Ita'a is the bare minimum. Ittiba is when somebody walks on the sand and I walk in their footprints. In other words, follow to the T. This is my path, he says, follow it to the T. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ. Do not follow these different multiple paths. Don't go in different ways. فَتَفَرَّقْ فَكَبِكُمْ. Because if you do that, they will take you away from the main path. It will take you away عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ, from his path. ذَلِكُمْ وَسَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And he enjoins this upon you so that you may have taqwa. So we started off with ta'kilun, then we went to tadhakkarun, and then we go to tattaqun. Now there are two paths, sirat and sabil. Sabil's got a plural, subul. Sirat has no plural. And when we say ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, we're talking about the sirat. And the sirat, basically, it's long, it's straight, it's clear, it's wide, it's smooth. It goes from down to up. So he says this is what you need to follow. In other words, follow the Quran. Now he talks about Prophet Musa. ثُمَّ أَتَيْنَا مُوسَى الْكِتَابَ. We gave the book to Musa tamaman. It was complete. It had everything. If you followed it, it would be complete. Alalladhi ahsana. So we gave the mood. It was enough for someone to follow if they wanted to excel. If they wanted to become ahsan, it was enough. What tafsilan. And remember I talked about tafsil. Tafsil, what was explained really well. Fussilat is bite-sized pieces. Fasla is explaining to somebody in little bits. That's how we got cubites from. So tafsila, we've explained it in really small bits. Likulli shayn, everything. Wahudan wa rahmatan, it was a guidance and mercy. La'allahum biliqa'i rabbihim yu'minun, for those who should believe in meeting their Rabb. Again, what was specified here or was emphasized upon was the akhirah, something that was highlighted all the time, accountability. Now he talks about the Quran. وَهَذَا كِتَابٌ, and this is a book. أَنزَلْنَاهُ, which we have revealed to you. مُبَارَكٌ. I talked about barakah before, I'll repeat it again. Barakah is more than expected. Barakah is something that awakens something that is dormant within us. The divine spark that is dormant within every human being, barakah in takes it out. That's why we say Laylatul Mubarak and on Laylatul Qadr, or the Layl that just went, which was the 15th of Shaban. So this book, it gives you more than you ever expected. This book enlivens, it wakens up that which is dormant in us, like spring. Fattabi'uhu, follow it. Wattaqu, be God conscious. La'allakum turhamun, so that mercy and guidance be shown on you. Mercy is guidance in essence. أن تقولوا, and that you may, let me do it. أن تقولوا إنما أنزل الكتاب على طائفتين, so that you may not say that this book was given to two parties, that the Jews and the Christians, min qablina, before us. In other words, you'll not say we weren't given anything in guidance, it was only given to the Jews and the Christians. وإن كنا عن دراستهم لغافلين, and you will say we were totally unaware of what was given to them. What are you talking about? So Allah is saying this book was given to you, so you would not say that it was only given to the Jews and the Christians. أو تقولوا, or lest you should say, لو أن أنزل علينا الكتاب, if the book had been sent out to us, لكنا أهدى منهم, we would have been guided. So we sent you this book so you wouldn't say those sort of things. فقد جاءكم بينة من ربكم, but when a clear proof, a revelation that cannot be denied, came to you from your Rabb, وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةً, and a guidance and a mercy, فَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ كَذَّبَ بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ, who could be worse? Who could be the worst unjust person than the one who belied the ayat, وَصَدَفَ عَنْهَا, and turned away? See, sadafa not only turns away, but somebody who makes a sharp turn, like a U-turn, just turned away. It's not like tawbah, it's a little bit different. It's like proper right angle, it's really sharp, it's like triangular. There's no turning a corner gently. وَصَدَفَ عَنْهَا, he just turned away. سَنَجْزِي الَّذِينَ يَصْدِفُونَ عَنْ آيَاتِنَا. And he said, we will sanajzi, we will give the jaza, we will compensate those who turned away sharply from our signs. With what? Sura Al An'aam, with the worst of punishments. بِمَا كَانُوا يَصْدِفُونَ, because they turned away so sharply. We turn away sharply from something when something hurts us. So when the ego was hurt and the ego couldn't take it, that it couldn't take the truth, it turned away sharply. Didn't even think about it. It just whoosh went round the corner sharply. And then he says, هَلْ يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَّا أَن تَأْتِيَهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. Are they waiting so that an angel should come? أَوْ يَأْتِي رَبُّكَ, or your Rabb should come to them? أَوْ يَأْتِي بَعْضُ آيَاتِ رَبِّكَ, or are they waiting for some special signs that their master would come, or their Rabb would come? يَوْمَ يَأْتِي بَعْضُ آيَاتِ رَبِّكَ, the day that some of the signs of your Rabb arrive. He says, لا ينفع نفس إيمانهم. No person will benefit from their iman on that day. لم تكن آمنت من قبل, or they did not have iman way before that. أو كسبت في إيمانها, and they earned from what they believed. خيرا قل انتظروا إنا منتظرون, or they earned good through its faith. Tell them, wait, we too are waiting. So when the signs of Allah come and people have faith and iman to them, iman in them, it's different. But they're waiting for a day when it's like they want to see miracles, but then it's no good. They will see them on the day of Akhirah, in the Akhirah, he says, and it doesn't work. So in other words, there's an open threat to the Quraysh which says, we are waiting, because I don't know what you're waiting for. You're waiting for angels, you're waiting for your Rabb to come down, you're waiting for something miraculous, but it's not going to work. And when it does, when you see it with your eyes open in Akhirah, it's going to be too late for you. Now, a verse that is used many times in the wrong way. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ, those who divided their religion. So those who, in other words, they picked and they chose. They did what they wanted to. وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا, they split things apart. Shia, and it doesn't mean the Shia that we are, by the way. We're followers. We say we are Shia and Ali, followers of Imam Ali. This is basically somebody who is a caste system where you cut things apart. Lasta minhum. This is you. They're not from you. Lasta minhum fi shay. You have no concern with them. إنما أمره إلى الله ثم ينبئهم بما كانوا يفعلون. The affair, the amr is with Allah, and He will inform them of what they did. When people cut apart that which was meant to be joined, it wasn't meant to be cut apart. That's what this is talking about. We're not, this is used very many times to talk about us as Shias, but that's not what it's talking about. Let me try and put it. So belief and the manifestation of belief go together. I cannot say I believe and then I don't manifest that belief. Inna alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat. If you didn't do good deeds, if you don't do those deeds that mend, and you say you believe, that's not the same. It's just like telling someone I love you, but you don't want to show your love. Those cannot be separated. Hope and fear cannot be separated. The dunya and the akhirah cannot be separated. So here, what the ayah is trying to say, and I'll try and put it, is where people pick and choose and pull things apart that were meant to be together. And then he says, Man ja'a bil hasanati, whoever brings a good deed. And I love this ayah because he doesn't say it's al-hasanat. Whoever brings a good deed. How can I put it? The good deed, not the good deed. Oh my goodness. that which you did only for him. He says, فَلَهُ أَشْرُ أَمْثَالَهَا, we'll give you 10 like it. It's so many things that maybe we don't even think about, but something you did solely for him. I can only give you the example of Allama Majlisi. So many examples, but I'll give you one about him. When he promises his friend that whoever dies first will come in each other's dreams. Now there are lots of narrations, I'll narrate you one. And many, after he dies, it was much long, a long time later, comes into his friend's dream, who says, what's the matter with you? You came after such a long time. We promised to see each other soon. And he said, well, there's a lot to do here. And he said, what happened? He said, well, they told me, what did you bring, Majlisi? The angels came and said, what did you bring? What was your legacy? And he said, well, Biharul Anwar, 114 volumes, all handwritten. It was really difficult. And they said, Majlisi, what was on the cover of the books? I'm paraphrasing, by the way. And he said, my name. He said, well, until Qiyamah, they will say Majlisi wrote this. What did you bring for Allah? And he said, I couldn't think of anything. I really couldn't. And he said, they told me several things, but one of them was, he said, I was one day called to the court of the king, because Majlis is very well known as an intelligent person, and he said they came to collect me with their fanfare, and I can tell you in our words, maybe they came with their big cars and their drivers and their chauffeurs and their the escorts and everything. And they said they took me, and just as I was leaving, there was a man who always asked me questions. Always. Every time I left my house, he would ask me a question. And I would sit on the pavement and answer his question. And he said, I got into this, they came in their horses, but I can tell you, well, let's go into the chauffeur-driven car. I got into it. And he said, Majlisi, I want to ask you a question. He said, I thought these people have been waiting a long time. I'll come back. He'll still be here. But he said, as we went for a short distance, I felt that wasn't right. I made them turn all the way back. I came out of the car. Well, it wasn't a car at that stage, or a horse, or whatever it was. I sat down on the pavement. I answered his question, and then I went. And he said, that is what Allah accepted from me. This is what it's talking about. That deed that you did solely, selflessly, without wanting anything back. He says, Man ja'a, when you bring it, bil hasana, that deed, falahu ashru amthaliha, give you 10 like it. Wa man ja'a bis sayyin, you brought that bad deed that you did intentionally, that you did awfully, fala yujza illa mithlaha, only once. It's this, you will get it back the same way you did it, unless you ask for forgiveness. وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ, we will never deal with anybody unjustly. It's phenomenal. Kul, and then he comes back to himself and he says, Kul innani, tell them, innani hadani rabbi, no doubt about me, no doubt about this, my Rabb has guided me ila siratim mustaqim. Now everywhere in the Quran, I'll show you when we do journaling, wherever there's sirat al-mustaqim, I mark it, and then we'll go over them sometime in the future. This is the path to your full potential. Deenan qiyaman. It is a deen. Deen comes from dain, a debt. That which you exchange your life for. So he says, it is that which is upright. Millata Ibrahim. It is on the in the way of Ibrahim, on the community of Ibrahim as such. Hanifan. Hanifan is somebody who is totally dedicated to Allah. Totally a man of God. وَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, and he was not one of those who did shirk. And then continue with Ibrahim. And really, this is something we're supposed to recite before every salah. If you don't take in anything from Sura Al An'aam, please memorize this. It is awesome. So before every salah, to say Qul, you don't have to say Qul, start with Inna if you want. Say, tell them, Inna salati, indeed my salah, wa nusuki, and my sacrifice, wa mahyaya, and my life, wa mamati, and my death, lillahi rabbil alameen, are for Allah, the Rabb of the worlds. We read this in Ziyarat Ashura. Allahumma jal mahyaya mahya Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, wa mamati mamata Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. So let's try and understand this. Salah, in essence, we all do for Allah, I hope. That's why we say qurbatan ilallah. Nusuki is a sacrifice. As far as Ibrahim was concerned, when he was asked to sacrifice his son, we're not asked to sacrifice our sons. But nusuki is any sort of sacrifice, anything I give up. So I'm saying, I'm doing it for you. I'm not doing it for anybody else. It could be hard. It could be something I don't like doing, ironing, I don't know. Whatever it is. Salati wa nusuki. Wa mahyaya. Mahyaya is my aspirations. It is also my lifespan, where I live, the time I live, and everything. But my life is my aspirations. It's my mission statement. This is known as the ayah of intention. If I continually say this, then every time I pray, I know why I'm praying. Every time I do something for someone, I sacrifice something, I know why I'm sacrificing for him, and he opens doors. Mahyaya, my aspirations of life. What do I want to do? What did I write in my arida? We went over that. What did you do? What was your aspiration? Wa mamati, what is your legacy? Your death, where, how you die. But mamati is, what is my legacy? I'm saying my life aspirations, my legacy, they're all for Allah, the Rabb of the worlds. Now you can imagine, if you and I were to repeat this 5 times a day, my goodness, we will start writing our mission statement. We will start thinking about the legacy we leave behind. Salah, yes, I connect to Allah and I'm telling him. The moment I tell him, Ya Allah, this is my intention, this is what I want. He says in Surah Ibrahim, Surah number 14, ayah 34, I think, we give you whatever you ask for. He will give it. He doesn't even, there is no pause. Let me just check so I've got it right. Maybe you're writing it down. So it's Surah number 14, and it's ayah 34. وَآتَاكُم مِّن كُلِّ مَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُ. We give you whatever you ask for. وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. If you were to count the blessings of Allah, you would not be able to compute them. So here, it is my intention. And before I stand for salah, this should all be going through it should just be going through my head. And then it carries on. La sharika la. There's no partners. This is solely for Allah. وَبِذَلِكَ أُمِرْتُ وَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. This is Ibrahim said, this is what I have been commanded to do, and I am the first of those who submit to Allah. In other words, to follow Millat Ibrahim, I need to be able to make sure my salah, my sacrifice, my aspirations, and my legacy are solely for Allah. In other words, solely to reach my full potential. قُلْ أغير الله, tell them, أغير الله أبغي رب. Shall I seek a Lord? Shall I follow another Rabb other than Allah? How can I do that? وهو رب كل شيء, and He's the Rabb of everything. ولا تكسب كل نفس إلا عليها, and not a single person will earn anything, but it will go against him. Here, qasb is, it talks to anything that I do out of injustice against myself. I call it a bad deed. So it says, anything that you do, it will work against you. And then, I love this. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. I remember my grandma. Nobody will take the responsibility or bear the burden of another. Wizr is a heavy burden. You can't say, I didn't do this because I wasn't taught before, my mama didn't teach me, my Quran teacher didn't teach me. There's no excuses for anything in life. Responsibility is my own. For my own self, my own responsibility. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. Make it part of your conversations. The moment somebody makes excuses, more than anybody else, ourselves, when we make excuses, to continue to tell ourselves, وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. We bear our own burdens. We are responsible. Responsibility is our own. ثُمَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكُمْ مَرْجِعُكُمْ. Then will be returned to our Rabb. فَيُنَبِّئُكُمْ. And He will inform us. Naba is news. بِمَا كُنْتُمْ فِيهِ تَخْتَلِفُونَ. In what we differed. 2 words we learned. تَفَرَّكَ, which was to separate, to become divided. And then we learn اختلاف. Ikhtilaf is a disagreement. It's not the same as being divided. Maybe I can say tafarraqa is we separate into different factions. But ikhtilaf is good. It's like, this is how we progress. Our marajih have ikhtilaf sometimes in the fiqh, the differences. It's not right and wrong. They're still investigating. So one will say, for example, we have so many examples. One will say the age of bulugh is 9. One will say it's between 9 and 13. Whatever it is, whatever those things are. So this is saying, and He will inform you what you needed to know more about. Finally, وَهُوَ الَّذِي, and it is He who made you Khalifa. Khalifa is the plural of Khalifa. So He made you successors. Those who you leave behind, one after the other, one generation after the other in the land. وَرَفَعَ بَعْضَهُمْ فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ, and He elevated some of you in others darajat, in different ranks. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ, so that He can test you. فِيمَا آتَاكُمْ, with whatever He gave you. Each will be tested individually, according to your own circumstances, according to my own circumstances. There's no comparisons, He says. Inna rabbaka, but your Rabb is sari'ul iqab. He is quick in giving the consequences of actions. Wa innahu laghafurur rahim. And it's so amazing. So when you read sari'ul iqab, you think, oh my goodness, this is hard, because iqab is like quick to recompense somebody. The consequence is quick. But then immediately He says, وَإِنَّهُ لَغَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. He is forgiving and He is merciful. And with this, in essence, we end Sura Al An'aam. So you can see the sections there. It's a long surah, but it is just something else. So maybe you could hide. I'm going to show you now what I've done with this section, so you can see how I do it in my Quran, and maybe we can see and then when we go to journaling, you can understand what's happening. So I'm going to try and show you. So this is my Quran, right? And this is Surah Al An'aam. And we started off with ayah 147, which was here. Right there. I'm going to try and see if I can make it slightly bigger so you can see. So you can see how I annotated, just very, very short. And then at the bottom, I will write stuff like that. And it doesn't go away. On the next page, there you go. You can see Ta'ala. I've put the little mountain there, which says "Come on up," and then you can see here the different sections. 1, 2, 3, the 7 things we believe in, or rather that you're not supposed to do. Sorry. And that's how I write this through. I'll turn the page. And you can do more if you want. My other Qurans are a little bit more populated than this, but this is one that I've done specially so you can see how I do it. So here you can see, I call that the ayah for intention, and then I've circled all these other bits in there. So this is basically how I did Surah Al An'aam, and then I had some space here, so I've written some other notes that might help. So hopefully that might help you do the whole of Surah Al An'aam, or any other surah that you might want to that you might want to do. So we're going to end Surah Al An'aam. Because we've got a little bit of time, I'm going to go into journaling.